All right, so we're gonna get started here and respect your guys' time. This is gonna take about an hour long. So at 10 o'clock, you'll be good to go, and hopefully you'll have some great tips on how to increase the rigor of your project-based experiences. And we're gonna learn how we can really do this and really tackle our content and our skills through really engaging experiences for students. So we're gonna start the presentation and respect your guys' time. So again, with no further ado, this is how to increase the rigor of your project-based experience. And if you don't have the coffee cup for rigor, you can get that coffee cup for I Love Rigor and let everyone know that, hey, project-based learning is all about rigor. And I want to assure you that you are in the right place. First of all, if you have run projects with students in the past, you are in the right place. If you have attempted to run projects but they went horribly wrong. And we're gonna talk about some experiences that I've had in projects that have gone horribly wrong as well. And if you're a project-based teacher, you know that that sometimes can happen. Third, if you would never run a project with students in the past. So if you never had a project-based experience with students in the past, you're in the right place too. You're gonna get a lot out of this. This is gonna provide you with some foundational skills to start that process. And number four, if you don't even know what a project-based experience is, that's totally fine as well. There's so much going on in education. It's hard to keep up with all the latest innovations and reforms. You are going to find out enough about projects so that you can start leading these right away. So thank you so much for joining. Now, here's what you're going to learn to do. Okay, here's the value that you're going to get out of this presentation. By the end of this presentation, you'll at least have a better understanding about how to create these kind of rigorous experiences for students, the kind of rigorous experiences that see students tackling real world challenges and problems and working together in groups to do that. You'll also learn how, as a facilitator, how to really facilitate these experiences for your students and ensure that they're really gaining really deep skills in the process. You're also going to learn how to really engage students around the process too, so that even though you're covering something that's very rigorous in content and skills, you can still apply real world engagement for students in the process. And again, you'll get your students acting like real world professionals. These are 12-year-olds who took on real professional tasks. You'll feel better equipped to do this with your students as well. So without going further, let's first define what is PBL. For those of you who don't know what PBL is, and you see PB and you think peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, well, let's first define what project-based learning is for you. So first, it's a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, complex problem or challenge. Okay, and this is taken from Buck Institute, BIE.org. And we're going to stress really that when you create the project-based experience that's asking students to tackle a real, authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge, by its very nature, you are going to engage students in very rigorous tasks to do that. Okay, but beyond the definition, let's talk a little bit about the history of PBL. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this, but this is really the history of PBL. It's had a rocky relationship with content standards and skills. Some people say that they're at polar opposite ends of the spectrum of learning. Okay, you can imagine your prize fighter project-based learning here in the left corner, trying to knock out your academic content and skills, and vice versa. Sometimes your academic content and skills, for lack of a better word, will trump your project-based learning experiences. And we want to create a friendship or a bond between these two, because really when you're doing great project-based learning, you need academic content and skills. And vice versa, for the way the standards are written now, to really deeply dive into content and skills, you need project-based learning. So it needs to be a harmonious relationship, okay? The relationship can't be out of whack. Currently, I don't know if you've experienced this. We're going to talk about some of my experience, but sometimes academic content and skills will take the front seat in terms of the learning experience, and project-based learning will kind of be the dessert on the side. Or sometimes vice versa, project-based learning is taking the lead, And as a teacher, you have a hard time, which is understandable, in really integrating deep content and skills. So we're going to learn how to balance these two things out so that you're really doing both. How do you balance the two? So this is the big question. How do we balance content and skills with our project-based learning experiences? Because we know we have high expectations on us as teachers. And to kind of illustrate this point, how we balance the two, I'm going to talk just very briefly about my journey with PBL. I was at a wall-to-wall PBL school. This is High Tech High in San Diego, the hit documentary Most Likely to Succeed, which features all the latest reforms, really highlights High Tech High as leading this reform in project-based learning. Now, this is me literally about 8 years ago. Okay, so I'm really bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to dive into project-based learning. Okay, now I thought I had a decent grasp of project-based learning, but I found soon that I didn't. And this is a picture of the insides of High Tech High, just so you have a kind of a feeling of what kind of school this was. This is a project-based learning wall-to-wall school. It's very open, it's very inclusive, it's very engaging, it's very much student-centered. And I was fortunate and felt so privileged to be a part of this. And I was ready to get started right away. Now, because I was ready to get started right away, I literally thought that every day was going to look like this. Now, imagine that these are all students. I thought I was going to get a standing ovation and high fives as I exited the building for the learning that I was bringing students and what we were able to accomplish together. Now, any of you who have led project-based experiences know that it's not like this. When you first start project-based learning, it's probably mostly like this. Most of the time, you might have your head buried in your hand. You might be thinking, what am I doing? How do I lead these kind of experiences? These projects are going everywhere. And instead of feeling like nice, one seamless thing that you're leading, it feels like a tangled mess. Your project is all over the place. You have a hard time defining really what it is you want students to do. It's like maybe 1 week before the project's going to finish and you try to strap something together really quickly to have something to show. Maybe you've been in that boat. I've definitely been in that boat before. Now, if you are like me, you probably want to improve on your project-based practice, right? So you probably want to get these things better in balance. Your academic standards and skills and project-based learning, you're trying to get these things in balance, but that's hard to do. And I want to tell you a story about the project I never finished, because I want to literally expose you to my biggest failures of project-based learning so that you can feel like, hey, he's been there before. He knows what I'm going through. And really, he maybe can provide me some strategies to help me out. Now, there's literally a project that I didn't finish, kind of like an unfinished cookie. We were about 6 weeks through this project. I had no end in sight. I didn't know when it was going to end. Kids were asking when it was going to end, when they were going to present. And this is a project where I was asking kids to create their own civilizations. And literally, about 7 weeks through the project, I canned it. I cut it. I said, guess what, kids? We're moving a different direction. I didn't have the courage even to finish that project-based experience. So again, it's me with my head in my hands. But I tried to improve. And you're probably like me. You want to improve your project-based experiences because you know that they're engaging and then they really help students out. So I tried to observe. I observed master teachers who had been at this school for a long time. I got my degree in teacher leadership so I could start to lead these kind of experiences and learn from that. I read books on the topic. I get heavily involved in planning and got planning documents for project-based experiences. And guess what? Like you will see with any kind of improvement, of course, if you are going to engage in that work, some of these things, they're definitely going to work. Okay, some of these things are definitely going to work. But at the same time, that some of these things are going to work, most of the time still, even though you've done all these things, most of the time you might still have your head buried in your hand, because as we know, these things take practice, they take time, okay? But I wanted a fast track, and I'm sure you guys are probably the same way. You want a fast track to be able to deliver deep content and skills in your project-based experiences. And you want to get things better aligned so that you don't have one outweighing the other. And that's what this presentation is going to be about. Because for me, it took 4 years at a wall-to-wall project-based learning school to literally have the light bulb go off. Literally, it took 4 years for me to go, I've got it. I think I understand how to do projects and how to make them rigorous. Okay. And it's not just 4 years. It also took work at some of the top schools worldwide. Okay. Not just High Tech High, but some really great leading international schools that were engaged in very innovative work. It took some of the work at those schools for me to really have the light bulb go off. Okay. So what I'm going to deliver to you guys is this is like could be top secret information. And I don't say that tongue in cheek. This really is a very, very, very simple process because as you know, as teachers, we don't have the time for complex processes. We need something simple that we can deliver on Monday morning. And this presentation is going to provide that to you so that Monday morning you can start improving your practice. So I'm saying that if you're here, you're going to get the top secret information. Thanks for being here. I wanted to reward you for taking your time out of your Saturday morning, and I promise you this is going to be worth it. So here it is. Here is the top secret information you've been waiting for. How to increase the rigor of your PBL experiences. These are the 5 steps. If you want to screenshot this, if you want to jot down some notes, you can, because I'm telling you, once we go through this, these are going to be the puzzle pieces you need to fit together to really create an engaging project-based experiences. Step number 1, find the right topic. Step number 2, envision a final product. Step number 3, establish a need to know will get to that final product. Step number 4, establish clear benchmarks to guide students along the process. And step number 5, which is of monumental importance, connect to the real world. If you do these 5 things and these 5 things alone, and these are where you spend all of your focus and attention, guarantee this is going to produce results for you, and you're going to see an increase in the rigor of your project-based experience. We're going to go step by step through each of these puzzle pieces, okay? Because if you have just one puzzle piece, you don't have the whole puzzle fit together. I didn't have the whole puzzle fit together until 4 years. It took me 4 years to get this puzzle fit together, and I'm going to share that with you. Let's go to step number 1 in the puzzle. Step number 1, which is of monumental importance, is to find the right topic. If you are going through your brainstorm or project-based experiences, you might have done this. You might have looked all over the internet and scoured the internet for project-based experiences. But I'm going to ask you to step back. Instead of doing that, this is the process I'm going to ask that you go through. How do you find the right topic? Here's how you find the right topic, guaranteed. The perfect topic is going to be one that's going to intersect these 3 worlds. If you'd like, start with your curriculum and start highlighting the common themes that come about in your curriculum. Themes like sustainability, entrepreneurship, innovation, balance. These kind of themes that you see emerging, highlight those themes. Those are going to be some good topics. Now, those topics would only exist inside of your curriculum if they didn't interact in the real world. So what I also am asking you to do is to brainstorm topics that exist in the real world. See if those match your curriculum. And finally, brainstorm some things that you are passionate about. What are you passionate about? What are your students passionate about? Because chances are, if they're passionate about it and it appears in the curriculum and it's a real world topic, bam, you've got the perfect project-based experience set up. Here's another visual for how you can look at this. The perfect topic is going to be the intersection of these 3 concentric circles. So typically you'll have a Venn diagram and you'll have 2 things that you're comparing and contrasting. In this case, put real world topics, put curriculum, and put passion inside each of these circles and find what are the topics that really allow for students and you to do all 3. Okay? Those are your perfect topics. Start that brainstorm, find your perfect topic. That is step number 1. So here's an example. I'm going to provide you an example. Sustainability. This is clearly a topic that really has much implications that we know is important for our students in 2017. Sustainability being that topic is a really, really, really great starting point. So then once you go from that topic, you're going to want to really narrow it down. Well, what are you pursuing within that topic? So think about really what is kind of the real world issue within that topic. If you've done your brainstorm well, you know it's a real world issue, but we're going to get a little bit more concrete. And this particular question in regards to sustainability is, how do we use data to make a positive impact on our local waterway? Okay, how do we use data to make a positive impact on our local waterway? This is the focal point. This is what the whole project is going to be built around. That is step number one. Choose your topic, choose a guiding focus within that topic. And guess what? You're already on the way to making your project rigorous because you know you've already brainstormed using your curriculum. Okay. So now let's look at, how do you then balance your academic standards and skills in a project-based learning experience? Chances are you're going to start to balance these two out because you know you have a rigorous experience that is set up for your students. So let's move on to step number two. Step number two, you've envisioned the right topic. You know it's going to help students. It's all about, for example, improving a local waterway. You're going to envision a final product. And we're going to provide some tips on how do you think up what this final product or what the outcome of that project is going to be. Again, our project is sustainability. Now we're going to envision the final product. Okay, here's what I recommend that you do. Imagine your project is like a 6 or 7 week journey, and you are actually going to think backwards. Okay, this is backwards planning. I'm not going to get too much into it. If you're watching this broadcast, I'm sure you know a little bit about it. It's really a great model for how you plan. You're going to think of your final product in this pursuit. Okay, and we're going to give you an example of what that looks like in the pursuit that I just shared. What does a rigorous final product look like? Okay, because we don't want to just think of a final product like a presentation or an essay or a poster. Folks, we want to think of something that's rigorous, that is really going to ask students to pursue deep, deep content. Okay, rigorous final products are A, they're found in the real world. This is key. Do real world experts produce the kind of things that you're asking students to produce? 2, does it depend upon a deep understanding of content and skills? Okay, so we're not talking about surface level where students create a poster at the end to say how they're going to make a difference on a waterway and they just reproduce some of the content skills. No, we're talking about something that's authentic and something that requires deep understanding. 3, ones that might be created by experts in the field. Okay, what are the final products that could be created by experts in the field that I talked about earlier? And 4, what is a product that is going to require a result of several iterations? What is a product that kids aren't going to get right the first time, that they really need several iterations? Because this is going to do 2 things. It's going to force you to really expose students to deep content. And 2, it's going to ensure that their particular final product is not something they can put together in 1 or 2 weeks, but that it was really going to take some deep level inquiry. Okay, that's enough of the theoretical. Let's look about how this actually looks in a project-based experience. So for example, you tell students that you are going to produce at the end of this project, you are going to produce 2 things. Again, we're going to make it concrete. We're going to make it simple. You're going to produce an innovation, and you're also going to produce a proposal for that innovation and how that specific innovation is going to improve water quality. There you go, folks. You've related it back to your main driving question. You've related it back to your main topic of sustainability, and you've basically assured that students are going to need rigorous content to get there. This is an example of a student who created eco-friendly bags. She created this as a result of several interviews and surveys and collection of data to say that these particular bags, if used enough, will decrease the pollution that we find in our local waterways because they're riddled with litter and specifically plastic bags. So she literally went to a grocery store. She petitioned that grocery store to start using these types of bags, and she used data to back it up, which is super important. This piece, this proposal piece, ensures that your kids are going to get very rich content, and that their innovation is going to be dependent on all of that learning. Okay, so again, simple concrete statement, something found in the real world, something that really implies a deep understanding of content, and something that experts might produce, a proposal and an innovation. So you might be thinking, that's great, I've envisioned that. How am I going to get students there? That's step number 3. Okay. Step number 3, if you've done this right, is you've now established a need to know. A student needs to know a lot to get to that final product. So I like to use a visual. This particular visual helps me in thinking about, okay, did I produce or ask students to produce a product that is really going to require them to gain a lot of content and skills? So imagine this rift that they're crossing from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. This rift that they're crossing, this gap here, is representative of the content and skills that students are going to have to acquire to get to that final product. And you'll know for sure that you've done this correctly if students need a lot of those content, standards, and skills to get to that final product, okay? So this is your student making that leap, and you are going to provide the bridge to help that student get there. And you know you did this right. We knew we did this right because there were over 10 standards and skills, specifically from the Common Core curriculum, that students had to master and had to know to be successful in this task. Again, guys, your abstract concepts that you want students to get to, if you give them a practical and concrete final outcome, you're going to get to those abstract content standards. And guess what? It's science, math, social studies, and English. It's not just content standards that's confined to one particular subject. So if you're watching this and you're looking for ways to team your teachers and really get involved with other departments, this is a perfect way to do that. So let's talk about that. What do students need to know to get at this? We're going to separate now our need to know from a nice to know. Okay, and this is the part that I missed when I was first a project-based teacher, and perhaps you're missing too, is you're not going to teach them every single standard that relates to the theme of sustainability. You are going to teach them the standards and skills that relate specifically to the project task. And you're going to separate those two so that you know when you're doing something that's related to the project task and when you're doing something that's just related to the theme. So we're going to separate those two things out. Here's the stuff that they need to know. Here's the stuff that's nice to know. They need to know how to do data analysis, quantitative and qualitative. They need to understand a little bit about ecosystems and how to balance those out, and learning about some specific ecosystems and the effect that pollution has on them. They're going to have to learn how to do persuasive writing as well, okay? Because they're going to have to persuade a particular panel that their particular innovation is going to make the biggest difference. With that comes a little bit of argumentative reasoning. You'll have to teach them some argumentative reasoning to defend why their particular proposal or their idea is going to make the biggest impact. Now, here's some things that are nice to know. Okay, now this is what I want to stress. It's okay for you as a teacher. It's okay for you to teach those things that you have to teach. Okay, because there are some of those things that aren't going to fit in the project, and that's completely fine. But again, it's really important to separate those two and to really express that to the students, to really have them engage in, hey, kids, what do we really need to know? What questions do we have to answer to be successful? And here's some things that are really nice to know. They're going to help support you a little bit. Photosynthesis and the cycling of matter, that's a complex process. It's an abstract principle. Do they need to know it? Perhaps to understand what effect it's having on the local waterways, but it's not crucial. Molecular makeup or chemistry of water pollution. If you're a chemistry teacher, great. Teach them the molecular makeup of water. Teach them the complex formulas that are involved in pollutants like nitrous oxide or nitrous dioxide. Great, teach them that stuff. But make it clear that you're teaching them these things to support this overall theme, okay? And then separate what they really need to know. Because if you do, students will appreciate that. And it's going to help you to establish clear benchmarks and assessments. And that's going to be step number 4. Establish clear benchmarks. Okay. Remember we showed you that picture of that person crossing that giant ravine. Well, this is where your benchmarks come in. How are you going to get students to be successful in that final task? That is a large gap that they are crossing. And that is where you're going to establish your benchmarks to ensure that they have multiple opportunities to be successful, just like experts in the real field. So you're going to assess the standards and skills addressed in the project. Okay, again, you want to assess the standards and skills that are going to be crucial for the project. So back when we go to those need to know and those nice to know, these are the standards and skills that you are assessing. So once you divided up your need to know and your nice to know, you're going to look at creating at least 3, 5 would be great, 5 assessments that is going to help students reach mastery in these skills so that they can be successful in the project task. Okay, so you're setting up those assessments so that student is stepping on to each next platform so that they can really master that task and ensure that their final product is representative of several iterations. Now let's look at some concrete examples of what this looks like in a project. So in this particular project, we as teachers established 5 simple assessments that were going to help students get at that deep content and skills that was going to help them be successful in their particular innovation. So first, we engage them in a Socratic seminar, a discussion. As you have it, a look at the resources that are out there in regards to this topic, and really talk about that and come to a better understanding of what is causing the water pollution in their local waterways. Second is data analysis. So students are going to have to do some really deep investigation of data and analyze that data, and they're going to use that data analysis to create a draft of their proposal. Now I say a draft of their proposal because they need some feedback on that. So they're going to get some feedback on their proposal, and you're going to give them feedback directly related to the standards and skills, and really what improvements they have to make that more acceptable and more impactful in their final innovation. They're going to present that. Okay, they're going to present that proposal to an expert panel, and that expert panel that is consistent of people in the real world who engage in this work. So environmentalists, you have biologists, scientists, data scientists that are working on this. They're going to present that proposal to them, and that's going to inform the innovation they actually make. They're actually going to have time to create this particular innovation so that they can really go through that process and have that final outcome. All right. So again, you're going to establish your clear benchmark. So let's look at the steps again. You found the right topic, which was sustainability in our case, and you know that that's going to be the intersection of real world problems and challenges. It's also going to be the result of something that students are very passionate about. And third, it's going to be something that's very curriculum intensive. Step number 2, you're going to envision a final product. How are students going to represent and demonstrate their understanding and produce something that really is going to make a difference? Step 3 is establish a need to know. So have you established a need to know for things students, content, skills, understandings that they have to gain to solve that task? Step 4, you've established clear benchmarks to ensure they have multiple opportunities to reach success. And step number 5 is you have connected them to the real world. Okay, now this is the step that we're going to get into. If you don't do this, if you don't do step 5 and you just do step 1 through 4, that's okay. But I'll tell you, if you just do step 1 through 4, it's just going to be a project that's confined to your classroom, and it's going to be an academic teacher project. It's not going to be a real world project. So step 5 is crucial. They need an audience for this work. If they've been working this hard and you tell them that there's going to be an audience for their work, they're going to step it up and they're going to improve and increase the rigor of their project. So step number 5, connect them to the real world. So for example, we brought in real world experts. Okay, you want to increase the rigor of your project? Engage students with experts who are doing this kind of work in the field. Okay, this is a presentation that was given by Thirst, which was a local NGO that worked towards resolving this issue of water conservation and water quality. And as you see, this person is giving them some background information. That expert is crucial because students are going to most likely pay a little bit more attention to what they have to say because they're doing work in this field. And that's going to help them to gain really the understandings that they need to be successful. So you're going to find expert mentors. Okay. I say mentors as well because you don't have to just have your experts who come in and speak. They can also mentor kids. They can work right alongside students in helping coach them and ensuring that they're asking the right questions and coming to the right understanding. Next, once you've found expert mentors, okay, you're also going to find mentors that can give students feedback. This is an example of an expert panel that gave feedback to students on their particular proposals. You have a mixture of biologists, of scientists, you have a mixture of communication experts. So how do they get their message out to the rest of the community? And you have a local expert as well. In our case, this context was in China, so we wanted to get a local expert, a government official, so that chances are if students created an innovation that was really groundbreaking enough, that somehow it could really inform policy. Okay, we just know in California, because of enough voices that spoke out, we now have a ban on just free plastic bags. You have to pay a price for plastic bags at grocery stores. What a great, great, great policy that's been put in place, probably because a lot of people who are lobbying. Same thing for your kids. Your kids have to be put in front of the people who are the difference makers and the decision makers. So you found your expert mentors and you have completed the 5 steps for a very rigorous project. Okay, so again, we're going to go back here. Step 1 through 5. Step 1, find the right topic. Step 2, envision a final product that is going to demand the rigorous acquisition of content and skills. Step 3, establish a need to know. Step 4, establish your clear benchmarks that are going to help students to get to what they need to know and understand that content. And step 5, connect their project to the real world. Provide them a real world audience that includes experts and mentors. Again, projects, they don't have to be what they've been in the past. Projects don't have to be the prize fighter in one end of the ring who's fighting against the academic content. Projects instead can be a harmonious balance. They don't have to be out of balance. Standards and skills on one side, weighing down your curriculum and your student experiences, and project-based learning is the dessert that's over on the side. Instead, they can be balanced perfectly so that you as a teacher can feel confident when your school leader comes around and asks you what students are learning. You can say with certainty the content, standards, and skills that they're gaining through the project. And more importantly, your students can articulate that clearly and with confidence to those people. And you can give yourself a pat on the back to say, you've done 2 things. You've covered your curriculum, you've conquered your standards, and you've given that learning to students in an engaging, experiential way. So again, I'm all about simple processes, guys, because I know how important, how valuable your time is. I know how many things you have to juggle. I'm still teaching right now as I do this work, okay? I'm engaged in this work daily. I know it's hard, it's tough, but really if we adhere to the principles of good project-based learning, we can do these things. That top secret information that I just provided you is literally, it is the culmination. It is the culmination of 12 years of practice specifically in this field of project-based learning. That top secret information, I want to provide you that top secret information. This is my life's mission. Literally, folks, you can probably hear it in my voice. There's not one thing in this world I'm more passionate about than helping teachers, helping schools to provide these experiences for their students. That top secret information that I'm talking to you about represents this particular code. Now, if I started my journey and tried to crack this code on project-based learning, and I still haven't fully cracked it, but I've learned some things. There are over 1,000 combinations in a 3-digit lock. There's 1,000 combinations. And you know what? If I try over and over and over and over and over and over again, it might take me 5, 7, 9, 10, 12 years. I might never understand how to unlock that. okay? But if I get support, and I have the kind of support that simplifies the process, and I get constant ongoing support, because we know if you're a teacher watching this, you know this. If you're a school leader who's watching this presentation as well, you also understand this. You can lead your initiatives, but without constant support, they're going to die. And I've seen this happen to too many schools, and it's heartbreaking, is that they lead initiatives of project-based learning and they abandon them after a year because they pat people on the back and they say, guess what? You've got it. We're doing well. Let's look at another initiative. And if you really want to bring project-based learning to your school, and you want to do it right, and you want to engage the kids in the kind of experiences that's going to conquer content standards and skills, but it's going to engage them, and you want to see your school transformed literally by this, then you're going to need some support. And there's no simpler way to say that. Okay, some leaders understand this. Tarek Razik of the International School of Beijing, who I worked with directly, he understood this. He knew that he had to put the systems of support in place to support his teachers, to help them to really gain a better understanding of project-based learning. He understood this, and he started a program in which I helped lead this program and help provide a model, an example for teachers, so that they can have a model on what this project-based learning looks like and have the constant support they need to engage their students in these kind of experiences. Okay, Christine Kuglin of Innovations Academy, an inquiry-based K-8 public charter school locally here in San Diego. They guys are just like High Tech High. They're a project-based school. They're a pretty much wall-to-wall project-based learning school. But she knew that her teachers are going to need constant support. And so I'm helping to support their teachers as well in leading different sessions to help them better understand project-based learning, and more importantly, to help them out with their specific projects. Vince Riverall of Gompers Preparatory Academy. This particular school is one of the greatest schools here in San Diego, a school that has literally been transformed by the vision of this particular leader, and really, more importantly, by the work that teachers are doing with students daily. And so I'm helping a 10th grade team at this particular school to lead project-based experiences and to start their first project-based learning experience, because you've got to start somewhere. And they're gaining the support that they need to start, and they feel very comfortable and confident in leading that because they're getting the support. Now, what does that particular support look like? With project-based learning, here's the kind of support that I can provide you with project-based learning. So project-based learning monthly consulting package, okay, it can include different things, and it's tailor fit for your particular school and to really meet your school's needs. So this is some of the engagements I have with schools. You get up to 4 group strategy sessions for teachers to improve PBL practice. Okay, so this kind of strategy session that I just led, imagine now that you are a teacher, if you're watching this, or you're a school leader, and you can provide this kind of support, and you have this kind of strategy session that's tailor-made for what your teachers need the most support in. And I'm going to share in a second what those possible strategy sessions can include. But you get a presentation on the strategy, you get supplemental resources so teachers can start the planning, the designing, the improvement of their experiences. And you get time for question and answer. You get specific time for question and answer, one-on-one or in a group setting, where I will help to provide that support and some insights on teacher projects, so they can really funnel some ideas off of me, and I can ensure not to tell them what to do, but really to ensure that they're asking the right questions and to improve their experience. Okay, or you can get 5 group coaching calls. So instead of the strategy sessions, the 5 group coaching calls is for up to 5 teachers who are really looking for specific support and guidance on their PBL experiences. You'll get those 5 teachers to really set specific goals, and I'll help guide them through that goal setting process of really where do they need the most support. Is it assessment? Is it providing experiences? It is engaging their students? Is it making their projects more rigorous? Whatever it is, I'll provide support on coaching calls for up to 5 teachers. Or another option is one-on-one coaching for up to 5 teachers as well. Okay, so that's not going to involve as many sessions, but that one-on-one coaching support, you can probably identify if you are a teacher, if you need that kind of support, and talk to your school leader or instructional coaches or your curriculum coordinator. And if you're a curriculum coordinator, instructional coach, this is a good opportunity too. for you to provide that support for your teachers. Now, the difference in this consulting is that I'm going to help to equip, if you're an instructional coach or if you're a curriculum coordinator or if you're a school leader, I'm going to help equip you with the skills to support your teachers, okay? Because we all know that this kind of thing is not necessarily sustainable long-term unless there really is equipping you with the skills to lead them. So I also invite the school leaders and instructional coaches into all these coaching calls so that they can learn how to support their teachers as well, or in those on-site visits. So this is a monthly retainer that lots of schools have taken advantage of and are getting support for their project-based learning experiences. Okay, here's some examples. Your teachers might need support, or if you're a teacher, you might need support in how to assess. How do you assess in a PBL experience? Assessment's tough, and how now do we assess our standards, but do it in an authentic way? Another topic might be, how do we increase voice and choice? How do we give students more voice and choice in projects and really help students guide the process of the project? How do we lead inquiry? Inquiry-based learning is absolutely crucial in a good project experience. How do we lead inquiry with students and get them to ask great questions? It's going to guide the process. How do you plan and deliver an exhibition? If any of you have planned an exhibition, or if you're a school leader watching this, you know exhibitions are tough. And how do we really plan and deliver an exhibition that's really going to not only engage students, but it's going to engage parents and show parents the kind of learning that their students have achieved? How do you connect to outside experts? Okay, so I'm gonna provide really key, simple strategies for how you can connect to outside experts. And literally within a couple phone calls, a couple emails, a couple tweets here and there, you've got your experts who are gonna work alongside your students. And how to manage a project. Anybody who's run a project-based experience, anyone for that matter, even if you're not even in schools, you know how hard it is to manage a project. And they're going to provide really simple, concrete strategies for project management and provide some digital tools and some real concrete examples about how you manage the project with real students, current students that I have now. Okay, so you get, those are all some examples of the consulting that you would get for supporting your project. Now, let's say you're watching this and you've never led a project-based experience, or you're a school leader and your teachers haven't, and you're just a little bit interested and you want to start getting your teachers the foundational skills. So the PBL Power of Simple workshop, we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna make it super easy for your teachers, and it's gonna be a workshop that's just gonna expose them to what they can do to get started, or what you can do to get started with projects. It's an immersive 2-day workshop. That doesn't have to be 2 days. It could be spread over a series of 8 different professional development meetings, which I'm doing with some schools. So again, it doesn't have to be 2 days, but it's an immersive workshop to learn how to establish your ideas, design projects, incorporate content skills, assess, connect to an authentic audience, and then the 5 key components of PBL experiences. And you'll also receive PBL planning resources. You'll receive a complete PBL planning guide, support resources for assessment planning, and protocols for school leaders and instructional coaches to help support their teachers in improving their project-based practice. Okay, so there's 2 options there. You have the consulting and the ongoing support for projects, and you have the initial phase where you're learning about the workshops. So if those kind of things are of interest to you, which I think they will be, if you're watching this presentation, you're obviously looking for some extra support. I'm happy to provide that support. There's no initial obligation. First, though, we need to see how committed. I want to see how committed you are to this process. And so because really this is my life's work, this is my biggest push, this is my passion, my heart bleeds PBL, we'll set up a free initial consultation where we'll just chat a little bit about your school. If you're a teacher, we'll chat a little bit about your classroom and some kind of experiences you're offering. And we'll create a plan together moving forward in what really would help you to provide the most support that you're going to need to improve your experiences. Okay. So again, that first initial consultation will be about a 30-minute meeting. We'll discuss a little bit about your classroom or school, some of your goals, some of the areas that you're having problems with project-based learning, and a plan moving forward so that we can get you that kind of support. So again, my email is there, kylewagner@transform-school. Feel free, please shoot me an email. I really want very committed people to this process. Again, watching one webinar is a great start. But again, watching just one webinar is not going to allow you to just go back to your school and enact all of these things right away. As promised, you'll be able to have some more tips and strategies, which is true. But if you really, really want to engage in deep, rigorous project-based learning on an ongoing basis and improve the experience at your school, you're going to need a little bit more support, and I'm happy to provide that support. So again, email me and we'll set up a time for a phone call, and we'll really discuss a plan moving forward. Okay, and there's my phone number as well. Best way probably to reach me is through email first, so I can first get a little bit of background of who you are, where you're from, and what you're looking to do with project-based learning, and then we'll set up that phone call. Okay, but if you'd like to shoot me a phone call as well, we can start that and really get the process going right away. Again, as always, I cannot thank you enough for the work that you are doing on a daily basis. The fact that you're here on a Saturday morning shows your commitment to really making these things happen. And in a thankless job, we can't say thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will hopefully be speaking with you shortly. Feel free to reach out and email me too if there's any kind of immediate or pressing questions that you have. And I'm going to hop back on here once again. Thank you for those of you who have joined. And I hope to support you in your project-based learning experiences. Shoot me an email or give me a phone call, and we'll get started on this right away. Again, thanks for joining me this morning. I'm getting you guys out at 9:48. Next time, hopefully we'll have some opportunities for some questions and answers as well, so you can get that support. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. All right, bye-bye.